In episode 2, we find out exactly how the Seven end up fighting crime. They have powers, but how do they actually go out and find the bad guys? The head of marketing comes to Starlighter and says, we're going to put you on our first mission. And she introduces Starlighter to these analysts that their whole job is to pinpoint where crime is going to be based on patterns. Now, Starlighter wants to go it alone because she's used to doing it alone, but she also wants to go it alone because they're teaming her up with the Deep. Unfortunately, she's now in the big leagues and she can't do it alone. So she's forced to work with a guy she doesn't want to work with, and they head off to the docks where this crime is going to take place. Now, the Deep is just acting like everything's kosher, everything's fine, but Starlighter is definitely pissed off. Typical guy, he has no idea why she would be annoyed, and finally she loses it on him. The Deep initially tries to act tough, but Starlighter cuts him off and says, I asked around and you're not number 2. You're just a pathetic fish boy, so if you even come near me, if you even touch me, I'm going to blind you with my power. Seems to put the fear of God into the Deep. They end up going through the mission and taking down the bad guys, but as soon as they do, they are accosted with cameras right in their face from the marketing department. Now, the Deep, he's used to this, but she's not, and she isn't really liking her celebrity status. On the way home, she's kind of thinking about life, contemplating things, realizing this isn't really what she made it out to be. And suddenly she sees a girl about to get raped, so she takes actions in her own hands. She beats these guys up pretty good, but unfortunately somebody was filming her and put it on the internet and recognized her. Now her cover is completely blown, but also she's got the marketing department on her ass screaming at her for doing this. The head of marketing is yelling at her saying, I can't believe you were so stupid not to look around and find cameras, see if anyone's filming you. And she says, well, there was a girl about to get raped. Unfortunately for her, though, in the video, you don't see any girl because the girl ran off. So it looks like Starlighter is just beating up these 2 frat boys for no real reason. This is another example of everything is an opportunity and everything is being marketed toward the public. And even if you're trying to do the right thing, it doesn't really matter in the end. Now we'll move on to the way that episode 1 ended. You find out that the CEO, Madeline Stillwell, did not order Homelander to shoot down that plane. Homelander simply has supersonic hearing and heard the blackmail go on and took it upon himself to shoot this plane down. The plane was actually found by the Deep, who tells Madeline Stillwell that there were laser beam shots in the plane. There's only one person that could do that. That's Homelander. So she comes to him and kind of confronts him about this, to which he responds by going to the Deep and letting him know really who's boss on this team. Now, as far as the public concerned, it was engine failure, but we all know that it was actually murder by Homelander, who's supposed to be the cleanest one of the group. You definitely get this sense in episode 2 that Homelander has a crush on Madeline Stillwell and feels it necessary to kind of protect her at all costs. But Madeline Stillwell isn't concerned with Homelander or the dead Baltimore mayor for that matter, because she's concerned with getting her superheroes into the army as like a privatized military. Basically, the U.S. government would pay her to dish out her superheroes to war. But when she starts talking to this one congressman from Oklahoma, she realizes that there are going to be struggles with this, because he says this is never going to pass. On top of it, he has little interest in it, and he's not the only one. But that doesn't deter Madeline Stillwell, who sets up a blackmail situation where that congressman is having sex with a girl, but the girl is a shapeshifter. And she blindfolds the congressman and starts having sex with him, but then shifts into the body of a guy and starts snapping incriminating photos. And shockingly, that works. It's not really shocking at all, but the congressman is going to put the bill to the floor to try to get a privatized military with the superheroes. But most of this episode revolves around Translucent, Billy, and Huey. They put Translucent in the trunk with the idea of dumping the body because they think he's dead, but he's not dead. He's actually alive. He's very tough to kill. But now they have a problem because he's seen their faces, so now they need to make sure that he's dead. Luckily for them, Billy knows a guy. It's this French dude. And this French guy has killed a lot of people. He's done a lot of jobs. Kind of a jack of all trades, if you will. So with the help of the French guy, they take him to an abandoned building and start trying to kill him in this cage, but nothing's working. Bullets aren't working. Electrocution isn't working. They're kind of at a loss at this point, so Billy ends up heading off and talking to a former colleague of his who works for the FBI. So Billy's not a Fed, but he might have used to be a Fed. And the whole purpose of this is to try to get a file on Translucent to try to figure out what his weak point is. But Billy doesn't end up getting the file. And to make it worse, Translucent is chipped. So Huey has to put up some foil to block the signal, on top of the fact that they still have to figure out how exactly they're going to kill this guy. But Huey doesn't have any real interest in killing him. He realized that he needs to, and it's probably going to happen, but all he wants to do is get justice for his girlfriend. So he asks him, hey, where was the A train going that night? And Translucent gets all uppity and gets an attitude and says, look, man, you're a bitch. I'm a superhero. Homelander's gonna find me, he's gonna kill all you guys, and I'm gonna be fine. And even though I'm in this cage, you're actually the one who's trapped. So Huey kind of walks off a little bit defeated and is now sitting with the French guy trying to figure out exactly how they're still going to kill this guy. And the French guy has a great idea. We'll just take LSD and get ideas. He offers it to Huey, but Huey doesn't want any LSD. Say no to drugs, kids. So more LSD for the French guy. And it actually works because he sees a turtle on a TV screen and has an idea. Turtles are obviously protected by their shell, so we need to get underneath the shell. So they electrocute Translucent, knock him out again, and stick a bomb up his ass. At this point, Translucent is freaked out and scared and starts freaking out and starts giving up information to Huey, saying, look, I don't know what he was doing, but he was coming from this person named Popclaw. And Popclaw isn't exactly somebody you want to be seen with. But Translucent says, look, if anybody knows where he was going, it's going to be Popclaw. Now, while it's great that he's finally giving up information, the problem is Homelander is flying around their base because the chip is going off in the area. And while they can't pinpoint exactly where he's located, they know that he's in that area. So Billy and Frenchie have an idea to blow up their other warehouse to kind of distract him. And while they're waiting for that to happen, they're kind of getting interrogated a little bit by Homelander. He sees these two guys just sitting in a van outside, and he gets suspicious. But luckily for them, right before he really starts looking around, their other warehouse does blow up and he flies off. While this is going on, Translucent has been able to get out of the cage by frying the electrical system. While he's walking towards Huey, he's kind of going, look, man, all's forgiven, just let me go. And it seems like Huey is going to do that, but at the last second, he presses the button, blows up Translucent, and Huey is just covered in his blood and guts.